Around a week ago, I made a video talking about the 10 worst contracts currently in the NHL, and in the comment section of that video, a lot of you guys asked me to do a video on the 10 best currently in the league, so that is exactly what we are going to do today. For this one, I did make a couple of rules, the first being a pretty obvious one, no entry-level contracts will be included, and the second one being these players must at least be signed through the 2021-22 season. These two rules definitely made things a lot easier when actually choosing the players for this video. Now, I wasn't going to give any honorable mentions just because there's so many, but I have to mention Sidney Crosby, whose contract has aged so well over time, and although it was a big chunk of the cap back when he originally signed it, it looks like an absolute steal right now. With all that being said, let's now get into the 10 best contracts currently in the NHL in no particular order. Beginning the video with Jaccob Slavin, who has an annual cap hit of $5.3 million and is signed through the 2024-25 season. Slavin continues to be one of the most underrated players in the entire National Hockey League, and that's probably because he doesn't put up 50 to 60 points like some of the other big name defenders around the league, but in terms of overall play and complete game, there aren't many better than Slavin. While the most impressive aspect of Slavin's game is probably on the defensive side of things and keeping the puck out of his own net, he does provide the Canes with a good amount of offense, breaking the 30-point mark over the past 4 seasons and also has 13 points in 18 career playoff games. He really is a beast, and if you're the Carolina Hurricanes looking around the league at some of the other massive contracts that have been given out to players over the past couple of years, we'll use Jacob Trouba as an example, that has to make the Canes feel pretty good about having one of the best defensemen in the NHL locked up to such an amazing contract. Moving along now, we have Nathan Mackinnon, an annual cap hit of $6.3 million signed through the 2022-23 season. To me, Mackinnon is a top 3 player in the league. He's right up there with guys like Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby. This is a guy that has been in the Hart Trophy conversation in each of the past 3 years, should have 2 100-point seasons by now had it not been for his injury in 2017-18 and then the stoppage in play this year. A player the caliber of Mackinnon making just $6.3 million a season is kinda crazy when you look around the league at all the players making $10 million plus, but granted, back when Nathan Mackinnon signed this contract, he had really yet to break out into one of the league's best players. Being just 24 years old, Mackinnon really doesn't have anything to worry about. By the time his current contract is up, he is still very much so going to be in his prime, and I'm sure he's gonna get an insane payday. But right now, his contract in my opinion has to be the best in the entire league. Next up, we have Alexsander Barkov of the Florida Panthers, an annual cap hit of $5.9 million signed through the 2021-22 season. Barkov is easily one of the best two-way forwards the league has to offer, and for so many years was looked at as one of the most underrated and underappreciated players in the entire NHL. But I definitely would no longer call Barkov underrated because everybody knows how good and how dominant of a player he really is, and over the past couple of seasons, he has really started to get the recognition for that. Arguably a top 5 centerman in the NHL, it's pretty crazy that Barkov makes just $5.9 million a season, but similar to what I said with Nathan Mackinnon, he's only 24 and is definitely going to get his payday. It is pretty interesting that the 2 top picks from the 2013 draft in Nathan Mackinnon and Alexsander Barkov both turned out to be franchise centermen for their team, kind of broke out into superstars around the same time, and are now on 2 of the most team-friendly deals in the entire NHL. Speaking of amazing two-way forwards, next up we have Sean Couturier of the Philadelphia Flyers, an annual cap hit of just $4.3 million signed through the 2021-22 season. In my opinion, Sean Couturier should have won a Selke trophy in his career by now, but he hasn't just yet. If you watch my NHL Awards prediction video, you would know he is my pick to win the award this year. Basically, ever since coming into the NHL back in 2011, Couturier has had a solid defensive side to his game, but over the past 3 seasons especially, he's really ramped up his offense, making his overall impact on the game that much greater. In my eyes, Couturier is arguably the most important player to the Philadelphia Flyers, probably aside from Carter Hart, and that's saying a lot considering there's still guys on this team like Claude Giroux, Jacob Voracek, Ivan Provorov, and Travis Konechny. If you want to talk about underrated players, talk about Sean Couturier, because I really don't think he gets enough love for just how good he's been over the past 3 seasons. Continuing on, we have Mattias Ekholm, an annual cap hit of $3.75 million signed through the 2021-22 season. Ekholm isn't necessarily somebody that a lot of people talk about, and I would say that's probably because he's played on a Nashville team that has always had an extremely stacked blue line, and he's usually been in the shadow of guys like PK Subban before he got traded to the Devils, and of course Roman Josi, and I would say even a guy like Ryan Ellis. But Ekholm is a big reason why they have had such a good decor for such a long time. He's pretty much everything you want in a top 4 defenseman. He logs a ton of minutes, he blocks shots, he's great in his own end, and can also contribute a good amount of offense, as he's broken the 30-point mark in each of the past 3 seasons, including a career high 44 points in the 2018-19 season. $3.75 mil for a player like that is pretty insane. I mean, Justin Abdelkader makes more than that. Next up, we have the entire perfection line: David Pastrnak, Patrice Bergeron, and Brad Marchand. Now, I was just going to include Pasta in the video, whose contract is the biggest bargain of the 3, but decided to just put the entire line as one spot. It is pretty insane that the 3 players making up arguably the best line in hockey are all on such team-friendly deals, but it's also a big reason why Boston has been able to remain such a good team for such a long time, because it gives them leeway to actually build a good roster around these 3 guys. Real quickly, I want to compare Boston's Big 3 to Toronto's Big 3. Pastrnak, Bergeron, and Marchand combined for a total cap hit of $19,666,666. The Maple Leafs Big 3, however, combined for an annual cap hit of $33,523,000, a pretty big difference there between the two, and which core has been more successful. Obviously that's Boston. And this wasn't just to kind of rip up the Leafs. I mean, what was Kyle Dubas supposed to do? Let those guys walk? No, of course he had to pay them. I just kind of wanted to compare to just show you how underpaid and how good of contracts Marchand, Bergeron, and Pastrnak are all on. Especially Pastrnak. I mean, under $7 million for somebody who won the Rocket Richard this year, or split the Rocket Richard with Ovechkin, that's crazy. Moving along, we have Mika Zibanejad, an annual cap hit of $5.3 million through the 2021-22 season. Zibanejad took a leap this season into borderline superstardom, which is something I don't think a lot of people saw coming. We knew he was a solid young player, but 41 goals in 57 games is pretty remarkable. He led the league in goals per game. I mean, just imagine if he hadn't gotten injured and we actually played a full 82 game season, Mika Zibanejad probably would have scored around 50 to 55 goals and won the Rocket Richard. Now, is this play sustainable? I personally don't think he's going to be someone we see year in and year out among the league leaders in goals, but I definitely think he can be a guy consistently up around a point per game and giving you 35 to 40 goals. And even if he just does that, then this is still an amazing contract, and the Rangers have to be pretty happy they have him locked up for the next couple of years on such a good deal, considering how many other bad contracts there are on the team, with guys like Mark Stahl, Brendan Smith, and even Jacob Trouba's contracts not looking too good. Moving along, we have the only goaltender in the video, Connor Hellebuyck, a $6.16 million cap hit through the 2023-24 season. And if you guys know me and you've watched numerous videos on the channel throughout the year, you would know I am a pretty big Connor Hellebuyck fan, and I would say, in my opinion, him and Andrei Vasilevsky are the 2 best goaltenders in the NHL. Hellebuyck is definitely my pick to win the Vezina this year, and I think a lot of other people share that opinion as well. He was fantastic for the Jets, and his advanced stats are honestly pretty ridiculous. Didn't necessarily have the playoff run that he probably would have liked, but the Jets were put in a pretty tough spot with the injuries they sustained in Game 1. With that said though, still a great year for Hellebuyck, and he really has been amazing for the Jets over the past 3 seasons, was a Vezina Trophy finalist in 2017-18. Just over $6 million a year for one of the best goaltenders in the league is a complete bargain, and the fact that it's long term makes it even better. Next up, we have John Klingberg, defenseman for the Dallas Stars, an annual cap hit of $4.25 million through the 2021-22 season. Basically, ever since entering the league back in 2014-15, John Klingberg has been a very, very good offensive defenseman for the Dallas Stars, his best season coming in 2017-18, where he put up 67 points in 82 games. Over the past 6 seasons, there have only been 9 defensemen who scored more points than John Klingberg, those being Brent Burns, Erik Karlsson, John Carlson, Roman Josi, Victor Hedman, Chris Letang, Keith Yandel, Tyson Barrie, and Torrey Krug. You guys get the point, a great offensive defenseman, and having somebody in that category and only having to pay him a little over $4 million a season, that's any GM's dream. And now, last but certainly not least, Mark Scheiflele, a $6.12 million annual cap hit through the 2023-24 season. We might as well just start calling Mark Scheiflele Mr. Consistent. You just always know what he's going to bring to the table night in and night out. Ever since 2016-17, he has finished at or slightly above a point per game. He is also a big-time playoff performer, scoring 14 goals in 17 playoff games back in 2018 when the Jets made the Western Conference Finals. It's a shame we didn't get to see him go to work in this year's playoffs due to an injury. Definitely hoping for a speedy recovery for Mark Scheifele and that he's ready to go for next season. In my opinion, definitely a top 5 or 6 centerman in the league, and just like his play, that contract is one of the best in the NHL. That is going to wrap up this video on 10 of the best contracts currently in the NHL. Before I go, I do want to quickly give a shout out to John Moore from the Sports and More YouTube channel. I will link it down below in the description. He gave me the go ahead to use some of his clips from his channel that he actually recorded of players like Nathan Mackinnon, Brad Marchand, and Sidney Crosby training here in Halifax, so that was really nice of him, and I'm sure it was a nice change of pace for you guys being able to watch some actual footage as opposed to just looking at photos. But with that being said, that will do it for this video. I really hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, please make sure to go down there and drop a like on it. That is the best way to show your support. And as always, if you guys are new to the channel and you want to see more NHL content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys all in the next video.